Good afternoon, everyone. I decided to make a sort of impromptu video based on two conversations that I've had just this morning alone. So, what I want to talk about is how to pick employment, how to pick what type of jobs you want to have after your basic needs are met. So, I want to caveat this with after your basic needs are met. Right? When I was younger, money was my deciding factor for any job that I worked, right? If I was happy in a job, but this new one would pay me 25 cents an hour more, I would take the new job. And the reason I would take the new job is because that 25 cents an hour made an existential difference on what I could and couldn't have, right? It saved me a lot of stress and anxiety on what bills I was going to be able to pay and what I could eat, right? The 25 cents really mattered back then. Now I've turned down jobs. The highest offer I've received in direct compensation at this point in my life has been $475,000 a year. And I turned that job down. And at the time it was like this real big, oh, who would do that, right? Like younger me would have had a heart attack at older me doing that. But this is how that evolution occurred, right? Once my basic needs started being met, right? I looked at my standard of living, what it is that I expect to have, right? So my standard of living is actually exceptionally low, right? I wear t-shirts that come from things like, in this case, this is a Joint Special Operations 10K. I donate to the charity that runs this, and I sponsor this run every year. So that's why you see me with a t-shirt with the JSO 10K on it. I wear shirts that are included in my philanthropic giving, right? I wear clothing from like Duluth, like shorts and pants that have a really long warranty. It used to be a lifetime warranty. I think that warranty has changed some. But bottom line is my standard of living is very low, right? Much lower than my income. And with my standard of living being so low, that affords me the opportunity to be able to make other decisions based on what matter to me, right? So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to bring up a couple of different criterion that I use to determine what type of work I'm willing to do and what type of jobs I'm willing to take, right? So first, let me start off with what it is that I do now, right? So at this particular time, I am a program manager. If you are not familiar with what a program manager is, chances are you're familiar with what a project manager is. A program manager manages project managers, a whole bunch of different project managers who are piecing together various different programs that piecing together various different projects that relate to the program that you manage. So in an easily understood term, and this is very generic, so please don't nitpick it. This is meant just to be general, right? Consider a program as designing a new car, right? The car itself is the program, right? The engine, the exterior, the interior, features, things of that nature. These are all projects. These are all individual projects that come together to create the program. Okay, so I'm a program manager. And in this particular job, there's a couple of different things that really stand out. One of which is there's very little work-life balance, right? Meaning, I just got assigned to a whole bunch of different meetings that I'm going to be attending in the next couple of weeks that are all at 3 o'clock in the morning, my time, and run for 90 minutes, right? That is tough. That is tough to get up at 3 o'clock in the morning to attend a meeting and then still have to do your normal work shift. You're basically waking up in the very middle of your night to do more work, right? That's not easy. The compensation is really nice. With everything together, I would say direct compensation, I'm looking at right about 170 in this particular role. Some of that direct compensation is based on reimbursements and things of this nature, but it's about 170, right? Which is ample, right? The academic requirements are insane. I am studying an ungodly number of hours every night, right? And I currently have 3 master's degrees. I have multiple undergraduates. Uh, I have, I think at last count, I had 26 certifications, a lot of executive programs completed and things of that nature. And the reason I'm saying that is because, well, that takes a lot of time off the clock and is something that a lot of us don't really think about when we're picking jobs, right? So going into what matters to me, right? And what I look at in certain jobs and what would sway decisions other directions, right? So looking at my current role as a program manager and the requirements that come into it, right? I do the job that I'm doing because I have the ability to make an impact, to make a difference, right? I have the ability to be a good steward of taxpayer money, right? And the good steward of taxpayer money, in my vision, I take a lot of pride. I recently received an award that one of the citations within the award is that I saved $5.5 million in taxpayer money, right? My salary paid many times over. And I take a lot of pride in that. I take a lot of pride in the fact that the US taxpayer does not have to fund my salary, that my own efforts fund my own salary, and that I am contributing to fund other people's salaries, like my entire team's labor costs. I pay for every single year just based on the strategic initiatives that I pursue and where I allocate their resources and where I allocate their efforts, right? So I take a lot of pride in that. I take a lot of pride in academia and being able to grow my mind and grow the minds of others, right? I put less pride in my ability to be home, right? I put less pride in stress, right? My job is a very stressful job, right? Anyone who's ever been a program manager will likely tell you that is not a cakewalk kind of job. Imagine being responsible for doing things, being a manager of resources that you do not own and can arbitrarily be taken from you at any given point without planning, without communication, and you got to find a way to fix things because you're still on the hook for the success of the program, right? Not an easy day. It is stressful for me to have to wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning, and that is not something I excitedly do. And it doesn't happen all the time, but it does happen frequently enough, right? So where am I going at with this, right? Let's say work-life balance and stress became more important to me. I wouldn't be doing the job I do right now. And the reason I would not be doing the job I do right now is because there isn't a work-life balance. You work a lot. You are tethered. I always have my work phone next to me. I'm always receiving work emails. I'm on the clock 100% of the time, and that is very difficult. I'm a flex schedule employee, but the reality is, even though you're not supposed to be working uncompensated time, right? You end up working a lot of uncompensated time. All that studying I do to be successful in my job, and we're talking more than 20 hours a week, like actually more than 20 hours a week of studying. And none of that time is compensated. That is all time cut right out of my life, my free time gone, right? So if I decided to prioritize free time and stress, I would do something easier, right? But chances are, if I did something easier, I would be sacrificing a couple things. For instance, one would be the impact. Being a program manager, I have a lot of impact. My decisions, because I own the program, my decisions are what allow that program to be successful. I'm not following somebody else's directions. Usually what's done to me is the intent of various initiatives are communicated to me, and it's my responsibility to figure out how to meet that intent, right? How I feel best appropriate. I would lose that capability, right? Because now I would be following the directions of somebody else, right? I would have a lot less stress because the burden of things going wrong is not placed directly on my shoulders, but I'd also lose the ability to have that impact, right? I would have a lot less stress and I'd have a lot more free time, but I'd also likely have a lot less compensation, right? I would have to re-identify my standard of living. This month alone, I spent $14,000 buying random stocks just because the stock market is crashing, right? I just decided to buy stocks because the stock market is crashing, right? I couldn't do that anymore. That option to do stuff like that would be taken away from me. I randomly decide there's a steakhouse here in Sasebo, Japan that I really like called Michelle's. And I randomly decide to go in one day and cut a Kobe steak, right? Kobe steak is about, it's Nihon yen, so with current exchange rates, it's about $170 for this. It's about a 300-gram steak. It's a lot of freaking money. I wouldn't be able to do stuff like that anymore. I couldn't just arbitrarily decide I'm going to go in and buy this because I want to try it, right? But the reality is, what is more important to you, right? A lot of times people's standard of living is inflated because they're focusing too much on impressing other people. If you're not focusing on impressing other people, again, look at my shirt. Free shirt that was included in a charitable contribution, right? It's got my corporate logo on the back and woo, right? I'm not trying to impress anybody, right? If you are not concerned about that, then you can make these decisions and you can do different things that put you in a position to be happier and more fulfilled in your work. The challenge that I have noticed with people is when they make decisions that are counterintuitive, right? I want to work a 30-hour work week, but I also want to be making $200,000 a year because I can't cut back on my spending. I got to keep up with the Joneses, right? If you're not familiar with that analogy, it's just, I got to have better things than my neighbors, right? If your priorities are that far out of whack, then you should probably reapproach them and look and say, what is actually important to me? What do I need to be able to do? Do I want to have more time with my family? Do I want to have more time for vacations? Do I want to travel more? I got some friends in what's called channel management that are home almost never. They are always out flying to various different airports, traveling, doing all this different stuff. Would drive me crazy. I would lose my mind doing a job like that because going through the airport is stressful for me, right? Trying to link up with flights and doing stuff like that is unnecessarily stressful for me. I would be irritated almost all the time. So I would not likely take a job like that unless the impact of that job was so significant that I felt that impact outweighed the negativity that I got from that role. Right? But they love it. And there's others that get out of it. You know why they've gotten out of it? They've decided, I want to be closer to my family. They've decided to get married and have kids, and now they want to be with their family, which being a channel manager, most of the time, they're on the road at many different events throughout the year. Some of the channel managers I knew were attending more than 40 events a year, right? And if you consider the average event is like 2 to 3 days long, right? They are boom, 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 going all over the place, running all these presentations, doing all these different things. Holy goodness, that is such a workload, right? You aren't home. You can't have pets. You can't do the things you like to do because you're not home, right? They get out of that line of work when it becomes less important to them. So what I challenge everyone listening to this video to do is consider what is actually important to you. How much do you really need to make? Do you really need to have the newest model iPhone every year, right? Which I'm recording right now on an iPhone 13 Pro Max that I just upgraded to, right? Last year upgraded to. I had the iPhone 10 prior to this one, or iPhone X, depending on how you want to call it, right? But I got that one when it first came out. So I had it for about 4 years. before I upgraded to this newest model. The biggest reason I upgraded to this newest model is because my iPhone 10 was dying within like 6 hours of use, right? And it wasn't meeting the needs that I have of that device. So I upgraded. I didn't upgrade because the new iPhone looked cool. I didn't upgrade because the new iPhone had better cameras. I didn't upgrade because the new iPhone was more powerful. I upgraded because I needed my device to, well, I take that back. I did for power a little bit because my old iPhone was hanging up, right? But applications were locking. But I upgraded because I needed more battery life and I needed smoother performance. Identify what's really important to you and make your decisions based on what is important to you. When you really sit down and think about it, like, why did I do this? Why did I do that? And you seek to understand your motives and intents, you find out that that might be why you're so dissatisfied in your job. If I took that $475,000 a year job that I was offered back in Green Valley Ranch, Nevada, that would have been likely an amazing opportunity for me, right? But I wouldn't be able to have the impact on the targeted demographics that I'm trying to have right now. And I wouldn't have been able to be as present for my daughter as what I'm even able to be from the other side of the world, right? I wouldn't have been able to change the lives that I've changed recently. So granted, new opportunities would have come with it, and that's a different discussion. I don't want this to go beyond 20 minutes. But just think about what really matters. Think about how your life can best be, how your life goals can best be met through your occupation, right? And you'll find that as you do those things, you will be more satisfied in your occupation and you'll be able to target what it is that you really want to do better. One thing that I have noticed employers really like is somebody who is purposeful, right? Specifically in like upper mid-range and senior tier positions. They want somebody with a defined sense of purpose, someone who's there for a reason. They want to make a difference. They want to accomplish certain things. And typically we refer to that as hunger. They want a hungry person, right? I am able to do the things I do because I'm hungry and passionate about what I do, right? If I was miserable every single day and unwilling to do the things I did, then chances are that would impact the rest of my team. The rest of my team is willing to work harder every single day because they see me always working harder. The last note I'll leave on this idea, right, and the purposeful employment aspect of this, is one of my employees let me know last week that employees who held similar positions to him that work underneath other program managers had mentioned to him that I work him too hard and that he is expected to do more by me than what they're expected to do by their peers. And as he was having that conversation with me, you know, of course, internally, my dialogue was, I felt like, geez, am I really working you so much additional? And then he chimed in with, but I told them I'm completely okay with that because I watch and Vic is always working tremendously harder than me. It would be different if Vic was making me do all these extra things and was turning around and doing nothing and leaving early. But when I get into work, Victor's already in the office. When I leave for the day, Victor's still in the office. And I see him working harder than anyone else here. And anytime I have a problem, Victor's immediately engaged in doing everything he can to remove that problem so that I can continue to get my work done. So I'm willing to work extra hard because he's always putting himself on the line to be able to make a difference for us, right? That really stood out to me and was truly the reason why I do a lot of what I do, right? Be purposeful. Identify what matters to you and choose your employment based upon what matters to you. If you don't want to be studying all day, then don't take a job that has a lot of technical complexity. If you don't want to be working all the time and at all sorts of different hours, don't focus on a job that requires you to do those things, right? So I hope everyone has a great day. Thank you for listening. Take care.